Imagine that you are facing a difficult situation in your life. Maybe you lost your job, or your relationship ended, or you got sick, or someone you love passed away. How do you feel? How do you cope? Do you get angry, sad, anxious, or depressed? Do you blame yourself, others, or fate? Do you wish things were different than they are? Do you feel helpless, hopeless, or powerless? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then you are not alone. Most people struggle with negative emotions and thoughts when they face adversity or misfortune. But what if I told you that there is a way to overcome these negative reactions and become more immune to external events? What if I told you that there is a way to live a life of peace, joy, and freedom, no matter what happens to you? Well, this is not a fantasy or a fairy tale. This is the reality of Stoicism, a practical philosophy of life that teaches us how to control our mind, master our emotions, and live in harmony with ourselves, others, and the universe. And the key to this philosophy is a simple but powerful quote by Epictetus, a famous Greek Stoic philosopher who lived as a slave in ancient Rome. He said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This quote summarizes the core idea of Stoicism, which is to recognize the difference between what is in our power and what is not, and to focus only on the former and accept the latter. By doing this, we can avoid being disturbed by external things that we cannot control, and instead use our reason and virtue to guide our actions and decisions. In this video, I will share with you 8 Stoic principles that can help you apply this idea to your daily life and become more resilient, calm, and happy. These principles are based on the teachings of Epictetus, who wrote down his wisdom in a book called the Enchiridion, which means the handbook or the manual of life. So stay tuned and get ready to discover the secrets of Stoicism. The first principle that Epictetus taught is understanding the dichotomy of control. This means that we should recognize the difference between what is in our power and what is not. Epictetus said that the only things that are in our power are our own thoughts, opinions, actions, and reactions. Everything else, such as other people's behavior, natural events, or fate, is not in our power and therefore not up to us. He said that we should focus only on the things that depend on us and not worry about the things that do not depend on us. He said that by doing this, we can avoid unnecessary stress, anger, frustration, and disappointment. For example, if you're preparing for an exam, you can control how much you study, how well you understand the material, and how confident you are. But you cannot control the difficulty of the exam, the questions that will be asked, or the grading criteria. So instead of worrying about these factors, you should focus on doing your best with what you can control. Epictetus said that this is the key to freedom and happiness. The second principle that Epictetus taught is managing desires and aversions. This means that we should be careful about what we want and what we don't want. Epictetus said that we should desire only what is good and avoid only what is evil, and not be attached to external things that are indifferent. He said that external things are indifferent because they are neither good nor bad in themselves, but only become so depending on how we use them or judge them. For example, money is indifferent because it can be used for good or evil purposes, and it can also be a source of joy or sorrow depending on how much we have or lack it. Epictetus also warned us not to let our desires and aversions depend on things that are not in our control, because that would make us slaves to them. For example, if you desire fame or popularity, you will depend on other people's opinions and approval, which you cannot control. And if you avoid pain or illness, you will fear anything that might cause them, which you also cannot control. Epictetus said that by managing our desires and aversions wisely, we can avoid being disturbed by external things. The third principle that Epictetus taught is living in accordance with nature. This means that we should live in harmony with both the nature of the universe and the nature of ourselves. Epictetus said that we should follow the rational order of the cosmos, which is governed by divine providence. He said that everything happens for a reason and for the best, even if we don't understand it or agree with it. He said that we should trust in the wisdom of the universe and cooperate with its plan. He also said that we should use our reason to guide our actions and decisions and not be swayed by emotions or impulses. Epictetus also said that we should act according to our natural roles and duties in society, such as being a good citizen, a good friend, a good parent, etc. He said that we should fulfill our obligations and responsibilities with justice, honesty, kindness, and generosity. He said that by living in accordance with nature, we can achieve harmony with ourselves, others, and the universe. The fourth principle that Epictetus taught is practicing misfortune. This means that we should prepare ourselves for possible hardships and challenges by imagining the worst-case scenarios and how we would cope with them. Epictetus said that this would help us reduce our fear of the unknown and increase our confidence and courage. He also said that we should view every difficulty as an opportunity to practice our virtue and improve ourselves. For example, if you are afraid of losing your job or your loved ones, you can imagine how you would deal with such a situation and what you would learn from it. You can also think of how you would use your skills, resources, and support network to overcome it. Epictetus said that by practicing misfortune regularly, we can become more resilient and adaptable to any circumstances. The fifth principle that Epictetus taught is progress over perfection. This means that we should not be discouraged by our failures or compare ourselves to others, but rather focus on our own improvement and learning. Epictetus said that we are not perfect and that we will make mistakes along the way. He said that we should not judge ourselves harshly or feel ashamed of our errors, but rather acknowledge them and correct them. He also said that we should measure our progress by how well we follow our principles and how much we exercise our reason. He also said that we should seek feedback from others, especially from wise and virtuous people, and learn from their advice. He said that by focusing on progress over perfection, we can become more humble, patient, and persistent in our pursuit of wisdom. The sixth principle that Epictetus taught is Amor fati, loving your fate. This means that we should embrace whatever happens to us as part of the divine plan. Epictetus said that we should not complain or resist our fate, but rather accept it with gratitude and joy. He also said that we should not wish for things to be different than they are, but rather make the best of what we have. He said that by loving our fate, we can become more content and serene in life. The seventh principle that Epictetus taught is Memento mori, reflecting on mortality. This means that we should remember that we are mortal and that death can come at any moment. Epictetus said that this would help us appreciate the value of life and not waste it on trivial things. He also said that we should not fear death or grieve for the dead, but rather view death as a natural transition and a release from suffering. He said that by reflecting on mortality, we can become more aware and mindful of our actions and choices. The eighth and final principle that Epictetus taught is self-examination and self-improvement. This means that we should regularly reflect on our actions and thoughts and compare them with the ideal of the Stoic sage. Epictetus said that we should be honest with ourselves, admit our faults, and correct our mistakes. He also said that we should seek feedback from others, especially from wise and virtuous people, and learn from their advice. He said that we should not be satisfied with our current state, but always strive to become better and wiser. These are the 8 Stoic principles that Epictetus taught us to live a life of peace, joy, and freedom. I hope you found them useful and inspiring. If you want to learn more about Stoicism and Epictetus, you can check out the links in the description below. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.